Hey there, beautiful lady. Welcome. You are listening to The Stylish CEO, the podcast for female entrepreneurs ready to step into their CEO role and be the face of their brand. I'm your host, Laura Jane, your very own personal stylist and women's empowerment coach. I'm a Nutella and ice cream addict, flamenco dancing Yorkshire lass with over 15 years experience of working in the fashion industry. Each week, we'll be diving into topics that cover style, business, and personal development, as well as guest interviews from leaders within their field who will be sharing their stories and expertise. So go grab yourself your favourite cuppa, sink into your favourite chair, and let's dive into these CEO game-changing conversations. Hey there, beautiful lady. Welcome to another episode of The Stylish CEO. Today, I fully intended on talking to you about first impressions, and I decided to change what I was talking about because I really wanted to show my vulnerability and be really open and honest and authentic with you, my listeners. Now, as you know, I launched this podcast, I think it's about 3 weeks ago now, and while this journey has been an amazing one and I was fully excited about it, originally my plan was to do a weekly episode, and I was going to alternate between my episode about style and my interviews with these amazing women that I've been speaking to. As you know, this whole theory behind this podcast is that I'm taking you on a journey. I had it all planned out, and then when I was speaking to women about them coming on as a guest, I just got blown away with how many amazing women they are out there. And I mean, I know this anyway, but just from speaking to these women, I wanted them to be part of this podcast. And it really got me thinking, because I was like, I had a set a number of places that I wanted this season to last for, and a number of set weeks that I wanted this podcast to last for. And I was really struggling with who to collaborate with and to bring on as a guest, because they had so much to offer you ladies that are listening to this podcast and subscribing to it. So I really struggled with it, and I made this decision that I would change the format of the show and make it so that it was 2 episodes a week. So on a Tuesday, the episode would be my own episode about style, and on a Thursday, it would be the interview with the guest speaker. And honestly, I have been loving it so far, and I have enjoyed sharing all the conversations that I've been having with these women, sharing my thoughts and my tips and advice to you on style. But 3 weeks into this podcast, I've now got myself into this situation where I'm feeling really, really overwhelmed. And this is where I say that I'm being totally transparent and sharing with you my experience, because like I said at the beginning of this podcast series, I opened up and shared my experience, and I want to keep this truthful, authentic, and my experience throughout this podcast. So from just doing the first 3 weeks, as amazing as it has been and how much I've been enjoying it, because I really have, I'm learning so much about podcasts. I'm totally new to the world of podcasts, and I've been learning everything myself. I've got some amazing women that I've been learning lots of things from when it comes to organising and editing this podcast. But at the same time, I've got myself into this situation where I feel like all I'm ever doing is this podcast. And obviously, I'm so much more than this podcast, and I've got clients that I want to work with, and the podcast is taking too much of my time, and I've just got myself into this situation that something has to give. That being said, I know what I'm like, and I have these big ideas. I go fully in when I do something. This has been a problem of mine since I've been little. I remember at school we got paired up into partners, and we had to decide on a topic, and we chose world, about different countries. And you know, I don't do things by halves. Where everyone else in the class was stood at the front giving a presentation on whatever their topic was, me and my partner had a complete food display of foods from around the world that all my classmates could go and get a plate and try. Poppadoms from India, and muffins from America, and popcorn and spaghetti and pasta and pizza from Italy, like all different types of foods from countries all over the world. So this is just who I am. I don't do things by halves, and I really feel like I have bitten off more than I can chew. And like I said, I'm being very, very open when I'm speaking here, because it's not something that people are always so honest about. But I just feel like something has to give. And while I'm really enjoying this process of doing this podcast and sharing my knowledge and skills with you and bringing on these amazing, empowering women that are slaying in their own lanes and in their fields, I just feel like I need to go back to the original plan where it's a weekly show. And for that reason, this episode is going to be quite a short one, because I just wanted to come on and just share where I am at and how I am feeling as a human being from one woman to another. This is how I'm feeling, and I just don't want to let you down as a listener, but I also don't want to disappoint you, but at the same time, I have to bear in mind what my mission is and come back to my mission, which is to empower and help women unlock their personal style. And I just feel like I'm in this cycle of not being able to do what my mission is because I'm too busy hiding behind the scenes, editing blog posts and creating visual content and editing podcasts. I'm not actually being allowed to talk about it or share it with other women that are desperate to hear what I've got to talk about, but I'm just consumed with being in the podcast rather than enjoying the podcast. So for this episode, I wanted to give you this update on what's happening, and from this week, this will be the only episode that will be released this week, and from next week it will be alternate weeks. So next week will be my style episode, and the following week will be the guest speaker, and we will follow that format until we finish the season. And I expected that the season that we are on now was originally going to finish at the end of September because we're having 2 episodes per week, but obviously now the schedule has changed, and so the season will be finishing much later than that. I don't know the exact date, but it is what it is, and I have to remember that my mental health is just as important as getting my message out, and I need to not overwork myself. And I'm sure that you as a listener can relate to what I'm saying because you understand what this entrepreneurial world is like and how many hats you need to wear in order to achieve the things that you want to achieve. Like I said, as much as I love doing this podcast, I have to take a step back, which is something that me and Taryn spoke about, like just really stepping back and looking at the bigger picture. And if I continue down this cycle of just putting out episodes like twice a week, I'm just going to burn myself out, and I really don't want that to happen. I've experienced burnout before at the back end of last year, and it's something that I never ever want to experience again. So by me taking a step back and looking at the picture as a whole, I'm really seeing what changes, what tweaks I can make in order to get me in a place where I feel better about what I'm doing will really help the quality of the value of content that I'm putting out. At the moment, I feel like I'm overstretching myself, and by just taking that step back and taking that breather and allowing it to be every 2 weeks a style episode and then every 2 weeks a interview, it's going to allow the quality and the value of each episode so much more beneficial to you as a listener. So I really, really hope that you understand where I'm coming from. So I will see you next week for another episode of The Stylish CEO. I really hope that you understand and that you're not upset and that you really support me in the decision. It's been a hard decision to make. I have been speaking to so many people about it, but I just wanted to come on and be open and as transparent as I can about how I'm feeling. You know, I am vulnerable. I am a human being. I am on my own entrepreneurial journey, and I'm learning lots of things along the way, just like you are in your journey. And I really hope that you understand and you will join me next week for the style episode of The Stylish CEO. Speak to you later, beautiful lady. Bye. I hope you enjoyed this episode of The Stylish CEO. If you loved this episode as much as I did, head over and rate and subscribe so you never miss another episode. New episodes drop each week on a Tuesday, so you don't want to miss out. I would love to hear more from you on what you thought about this episode and the topics that you want to hear. I also want to shout about you and your business, so each week I will be choosing someone who leaves a review or comment to share with the Stylish CEO audience. Check out the show notes at girlbehindthelook.com/podcast for more information. I can't wait to hang out with you again soon. Until next time, beautiful lady. This is Laura Jane signing off.